the story I read about July the 4th traffic accidents got me to thinking about my history with wrecks. So I've really had only one wreck in my life, but it was way more than a scratch. But in high school, I will quickly tell you about two quote-unquote car wrecks that actually happened, if you're ready for this, in my driveway and in my front yard. So me. Strange but true. Now, the moral to all three of my wrecks is that haste makes waste, especially when you're driving. The first incident happened the summer before my senior year of high school. I had a summer league high school basketball game I was to play in all the way downtown in Oklahoma City at the YMCA. It's maybe 30 or 40-minute drive from where we lived out in the northwest part of town. And I don't know what happened. I dozed off for a minute in front of the TV, and when I awoke, I realized I was going to be cutting it just a little bit close to get down to the YMCA on time because it was in rush hour traffic. We had a weirdly pretty long driveway that ran along the side of our 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It was pretty modest, but the driveway was long. And I had parked all the way up at the end of the driveway under the basketball goal. Nobody was home but me, or so I thought. So I ran out the back door because that was the quickest path to my car. And I ran along the back of the house and straight into my 1967 Camaro SS 350, sitting under the basketball goal and net. Little did I know that for the first time ever, my father had come home to take a nap. For whatever reason, my father came home and I was not aware. Never done that. He had parked his panel truck that he used to cater parties out of the little barbecue restaurant. But he'd parked his panel truck, maybe 10 or 15 yards behind my car. So I turned the key, my Camaro roared to life, I threw it in reverse, and without a single glance in the rear view, I pushed down on the accelerator. Now, there was about a 3 or 4 foot high retaining wall that went along the edge of our driveway to keep the neighbor's garden from falling into our driveway. It was just a little above. So I just used the retaining wall to go right back down the driveway, to guide me back down the driveway. So all I did was look sideways at the retaining wall to make sure I stayed straight. Never look back 1 second. So you can imagine the impact. You can imagine the jolt I got when I hit the front end of my father's panel truck without ever touching my brake. Ugh. And my next quote-unquote wreck happened the following summer before I went away to Vanderbilt, and it's even more inexplicably bizarre. So one night I was supposed to play in a church league softball game, and I forgot to put my contact lenses in, and I turned around on Grand Boulevard and roared back in my Camaro to our house. And instead of pulling into the driveway because I was in such a rush, haste makes waste, I just pulled straight off the gravel access road onto the front yard. It was the dead of summer. The grass was pretty much yellowed out. We didn't really care about the front yard. I just drove and sort of angled around by the front door and left my car running. It was a 4-speed manual with the clutch. And so I just put it in neutral, left it running, and as it came to a stop, the nose was pointed back toward the gravel road, and I hopped right out, right in the front door. By the way, I remember I didn't need a key in those days because we never locked our front door. Can you imagine today, never locking your front door? We just never, I don't think we locked it at night. I don't remember locking it. Nobody broke in those days. I don't know. Who knew? I ran in, put my contacts in maybe 2 minutes, ran straight back out. And what a sight I beheld. I got out onto the front porch just in time to watch my Camaro plunge nose first down into the drainage ditch alongside Grand Boulevard. And I'm like, this cannot be. Our front yard is flat as a pancake. How did my car keep rolling, roll completely across the gravel access road, down through the weeds, down 20 yards, and crash nose first down into the drainage ditch, dirt drainage ditch, alongside the dirt road that was Grand Boulevard? I was dumbfounded. I was stunned. I was thunderstruck. And for the next 2 hours, it took 2 hours to get somebody to pull my Camaro up out of this drainage ditch. A number of my friends drove past on Grand Boulevard and leaned out the window and asked, what happened? Can you imagine the shame, the embarrassment I felt? What happened? Again, my father, not happy. My mother shrugged and said, oh, well, that's you. I told my wife Ernestine this story just the other night. I'd never told her this one. She said, that is so you. Now for my only real away from home wreck that I ever suffered. And this one easily could have ended my life. So as I took off from downtown Chicago, it was raining. It rained the whole way. Harder and harder it rained, especially when I got into Wisconsin. It rained and rained. I got lost twice. I got late. I got perplexed. I got frustrated. I got out of my mind. I finally pulled over in some little tiny Wisconsin town. I said, man, I need some caffeine. It's pouring rain. I think I stopped at a Burger King to get a Diet Coke. Ran in and got it. Looked at my hieroglyphics of directions. I said, where am I? What am I doing? So I thought, I'll buckle my seatbelt as I pull out. I didn't buckle my seatbelt for the next 5 minutes. Not like me. I'm a buckle up for safety guy. Have always worn my seatbelt back to the first day I drove at age 16. I always buckled my seatbelt. For some reason, I don't know what possessed me. I was so distracted. I was so upset. I was getting so late. I thought, I'll buckle it in a couple of minutes. And within 5 minutes, I nearly lost my life. Came around the bend as I left that town on this 2-lane I was on. I did not see the stop sign. As fate would have it, a semi-trailer truck was exiting, coming down the access ramp, the off-ramp, crossing my 2-lane. I admit it, I was distracted. I admit it, I had no seatbelt. I glanced. I assumed the semi would stop. I waited. He kept coming, and suddenly I realized the semi is not stopping. There was one flashpoint moment when, as I slammed on the brakes and I steered as hard left as I could steer, I realized I'm going to have a wreck. And I can feel it now. It just felt like time stopped for a second as I skidded sideways toward the semi. I think I broadsided the semi. I think I actually hit in underneath it, my little MR2. My airbag on the driver's side exploded and obviously saved my life. I hit the semi pretty hard. I actually hit it so hard I bounced off and wound up heading in the opposite direction from which I had come. But miraculously, when I came to a stop, I shook my head for a second and realized I was actually pretty okay. I hope you enjoyed that video. You ready for more? Make sure you click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from The Skip Bayless Show. And don't forget to check out the full episode of the show wherever you get your podcasts by clicking the link in the description.